Subscribe my YouTube channel and click bell icon, like and share video. Thanks for watching. Boris Johnson, replace Iran nuclear plan with Trump deal, says PM. Boris Johnson has said the Iran nuclear deal should be replaced with a Trump deal. The Prime Minister said he recognized U.S. concerns the 2015 deal was flawed, but there had to be a way of stopping Tehran from acquiring nuclear weapons. If we're going to get rid, we need a replacement, he told BBC Breakfast. Let's replace it with the Trump deal. His comments came as the UK, France and Germany triggered a dispute mechanism in the deal after violations by Iran. Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab is to make a common statement later amid growing fears for the future of the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action (JCPOA), which was abandoned by the US in 2018. Iran has suspended all limits on its production of enriched uranium, which can be used to make reactor fuel but also nuclear weapons. It has said it is responding to sanctions reinstated by the US in 2018. In a joint statement, the three European powers saw Iran was not meeting its commitments, and it was referring the issue to the body which enforces the agreement to try and ensure Tehran complied with the terms of the existing agreement as soon as possible. We do this in good faith with the overarching objective of preserving the JCPOA and in the sincere hope of finding a way forward to resolve the impasse through constructive diplomatic dialogue, while preserving the agreement and remaining within its framework, it said. The BBC's political editor Laura Kuntzberg says she understands the PM believes the current deal has to be made to work in a format that the US will sign up to. In a wide-ranging interview with BBC Breakfast's Dan Walker, his first major TV interview since the election, the PM also said he was very confident about the UK and EU negotiating a new trade deal by the 31st of December deadline. While, in any negotiation, a country had to budget for a complete failure of common sense, he believed a successful outcome was enormously likely. He also said the government was continuing to look at whether Big Ben would chime at the moment that Brexit happens at 23:00 GMT on the 31st of January. The bell is currently being refurbished and he said it would cost about £500,000 for it to be brought back into use for one night. We are working up a plan so people can bung a bob for a Big Ben bong, Mr. Johnson said. What the PM said on Iran. The JCPOA, signed in 2015, saw Iran agree to limit its sensitive nuclear activities and allow in international inspectors in return for the lifting of crippling economic sanctions. Mr. Trump has described it as the worst deal ever negotiated, but the UK and its other signatories, China, France, Russia and Germany, are still committed to it. Speaking to the BBC, Mr. Johnson suggested this would remain the case until the agreement was changed. My point to our American friends, somehow we have to stop Iran acquiring nuclear weapons. If we're going to get rid, we need a replacement. From the American perspective, it's a flawed deal, plus it was negotiated by President Obama. Let's replace it with the Trump deal. That's what we need to see. President Trump is a great dealmaker by his own account, and by many others. Let's work together to replace the JCPOA and get the Trump deal instead. The PM said he was pleased that Iran had admitted to a terrible error in shooting down an Ukrainian passenger jet, killing all those on board. He defended the UK's response to the US killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, saying it had played its traditional role in working with Washington and Europe to de-escalate tensions. Iran, he said, was an amazing country and should be orientated towards our way of doing things, but they are captive to the current government. What PM said about domestic priorities. The PM was asked what he would do to address the record waiting times in A&E departments in December, with 400,000 people having to wait more than 4 hours to be treated, many of them on trolleys and in corridors. Mr. Johnson said the health service would get an extra £34 billion in funding over the next 4 years, with 50,000 more nurses and 6,000 new GPs. I also want to see improvements in performance, in A&E and in waiting times, across the country. We are going to be working on this flat out. But he asked for patience when it came to another huge issue, finding an affordable solution to the provision of social care for the elderly. When he first entered Downing Street in July, he suggested he had a plan to fix the problem once and for all, but the Conservative manifesto only committed to urgent cross-party talks. He insisted new proposals would be published this year, but it might take the whole parliament, which is scheduled to last more than 4 years, for them to come into force because of the complexity of the issue. This has been shirked by governments for about 30 years. We are now going to get on and deal with this so people get the care they need and in their old age but do not have to sell their home to pay for their care. This is potentially a massive change and we have to get it right. There are quite a lot of important moral and social issues contained in it. Should taxpayers be paying for people who might be able to afford it? Should families be looking after their elderly relatives?